Hi, and welcome to the Brisbane Professionals Podcast. This is a podcast brought to you by SMS Law, going through the legal secrets that will benefit you and your clients, as well as having a little bit of fun as we go. This podcast is designed to educate you on, number one, complicated legal terms that we will explain in an easy to understand manner. Two, to understand why you do things from a legal perspective in your business. And three, to help you develop a plan for the future success of your business. Our mission is to help empower small to medium-sized businesses around the world to get access to legal advice so that they can help build their communities and make the world a better place. Did you know that any business owner is on average 7 months away from losing everything? That is the average time that it takes from a successful business to fold when an aspect of their business is not set up correctly. This podcast is all about empowering you and your business with knowledge and tools to ensure that that doesn't happen to you or to your clients. Let's begin, shall we?
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Brisbane Professionals Podcast. I am Craig Mason, and I have with me, as always, Jeremy Stratton. Say hello to everyone, please, Jeremy.
Hi, everyone. I hope you've had a good week.
Absolutely. So today we're talking about estate planning, and we've come up with 5 tips we wanted to share with you and have a discussion about those tips. So estate planning, if you're not aware, is where you plan for your retirement or your death. So it's not the greatest topic to think about, I guess. You don't want to think about dying, but it's very important to put something together and plan for that for your beneficiaries, your loved ones, etc. So pretty important topic, something you need to think about, and it's one of those things that you don't just put in the second drawer or the third drawer, Jeremy, which is the one that you never look at again, but you want to look at it and review it over the time of your business, over the time of your life. So 5 tips for estate planning, Jeremy. What is the first one that we came up with?
Well, the first thing is, just to be clear, it's the second drawer. So that's where you put everything you put in your second drawer is the stuff that you're never going to look at ever again, because everyone looks at the top drawer for their important stuff and the bottom drawer for their documents and everything like that. And second drawer is where everything goes to be lost. So the first tip is to really think about who's going to be the beneficiary of your estate. So if you've got children, if you've got a spouse, and if you don't, who else would be entitled to your estate, and who will receive the benefit of your capital and your income that you've built up over the years, and really think through that at a number of different levels. If you do have a family, think about what happens if something happens to all of you, to make sure that you cover off as many different scenarios as possible, so that you're not going through with the intestacy rules, which we won't go through today, but you want your estate to go to who you want it to go to. So make sure that you list out your beneficiaries in the right way. Craig, the second one.
The second one is thinking about who is going to be the executor. So that's the person that's tasked with the role of administering the estate. So you put everything in your will that says, I want this to happen. The executor is the one that needs to do that. So you might have more than one executor, but you want to think about who that is. Obviously, you want it to be someone that you trust, will do what you want to be done in your will. Someone with, that won't, might have some skills in financing, those sorts of things is also something to think about. How old the person is as well. You don't want to put an executor down that's, 30 years older than you, for instance. Those sorts of things. You need to think about who's the best person for that. And also think about, if something did happen to that executor as your first choice, who your second choice might be. So it's a pretty important role. They need to follow the will under the obligations to do so. So you want someone that you can trust, someone that, is able to take that on. And it's not going to be too onerous on them as well, depending on what their occupation is. So plenty to think about with your executor, and also just with that as well, talk to the person that you're thinking about appointing as well, and just get some feedback from them. So pretty important role, something you definitely need to put some thought into, and is our second tip for estate planning. Jeremy, the third one.
Yeah, the third one is really designed for those business owners out there. Our podcast here is really focused on professionals, and a lot of professionals have trusts in their structure. So they might have family trusts, they might have discretionary trusts, might own businesses, might own properties, and you've really got to think about what's going to happen with those trusts, because often, depending on the trust and depending on the rest of your structure, they may not be included just in your normal wills. So you need to have a think about what's going to happen with your trusts, what's going to happen with trustees, what's going to happen with beneficiaries, and really make sure that forms part of the estate plan. A lot of people think that they can just draft their own will and it's all included. Well, it doesn't necessarily work that way. So if you've got trusts involved or you've got clients who've got trusts involved, make sure that whoever's doing their estate plan asks the right questions and gets the right information about their trusts so that they're dealt with properly. Craig, number 4.
Number 4 is further to trust. So you've got all your trusts set up, as Jeremy said, now for businesses, etc. Then there's also a trust, and it's called a testamentary trust. So a testamentary trust is essentially a trust that is there in your will, but it isn't actually established until you pass away. And the assets then go into a trust, the same as any other discretionary trust. And it goes from there in terms of beneficiaries, trustees, etc., and the powers that go with a normal discretionary trust. So when you might be thinking about using or implementing a testamentary trust, so you've got to think it's not about protecting your assets for yourself, it's protecting your assets for your beneficiaries. So that's when you need to think about who the beneficiaries are. They might be in an occupation that's high risk to being sued or litigated against. So you might want to protect those assets from any proceedings, or they might be not the best financially, or have some other financial issues or other personal issues that may mean that you don't want that particular beneficiary to have full access to their gift in the will. So you might set up a trust in that way and have a trustee that's the executor or someone else that you trust to be the trustee. Or it could be that you might be worried about family law type proceedings as well. Those sorts of things you would be thinking about potentially establishing a testamentary trust, and it also all depends on the value of your estate as well. You've got to think, you mightn't think your estate's that valuable in terms of dollars, but you've also got to remember you might have life insurance, which can be quite significant, that increases the value of people's estates dramatically. So when you're thinking about those sorts of things, you might be thinking about a testamentary trust. There are other tax benefits as well for beneficiaries, but something to think about, particularly if you've got sort of adult children and they might have issues or occupations of high risk. So get some advice on that. Obviously, do not attempt to do that without advice. It's definitely not a copy and paste job from the internet. So seek the advice, as we always say. The last tip, Jeremy, for estate planning.
Yeah, so the last one is really for those of you who have kids, is to think about, especially underage kids, think about who you want to be the legal guardians of the kids, and have that in the will. Sometimes it's not 100% binding, but it certainly is an indication of your intention that those people look after your children if something happens to you. And it's often something that can be missed. People obviously don't like thinking about it, but it is an important thing, especially when you have young children to cover. So that's it, Craig. That's our 5 tips for estate planning.
Yeah, absolutely. And just with the guardians as well, just so I think of it, same with the executors, you've got to think about how old these people are that you're appointing. You don't want to have someone that's not going to be around, or they've got 7 kids of their own or something. So plenty to think about. So as we said at the beginning, it's a pretty big topic, pretty important one. These are 5 tips that we've come up with. There's plenty more things you need to consider, and it's definitely one of the areas where you want to seek the advice of your advisors. So that's it for us today. As a favour, please jump on and review and rate the podcast. We'd appreciate any reviews and ratings. Obviously, 5-star would be appreciated. And any other comments you want to make about the podcast, please jump on the SMS Law Facebook page and like that, and follow us there on Twitter as well, and search for us individually, Craig and Jeremy, on LinkedIn. That is it for us today. We'll see you next time.
See you then. Bye.